Netflix dropped their 4-part documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning on December 2, 2024, and it featured something that should have been impossible to obtain. Intimate footage of Diddy from the days leading up to his arrest. The footage showed him strategizing with his legal team, reacting to lawsuits, and planning his public defense. And Diddy immediately called it stolen, sent a cease and desist letter, and threatened legal action. The twist is that according to his former publicist, Diddy may have no case at all. And the reason comes down to a business mistake so basic it's almost hard to believe. What you're about to hear is the story of how Sean Diddy Combs' own sloppy business practices handed Netflix the most damaging footage of his career, and why despite all his threats, he hasn't been able to do a single thing about it. September 10th, 2024 is where this starts. Diddy sat in the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York City with cameras rolling, and his primary videographer, a 36-year-old documentarian named Michael Oberlees, had been working on a project profiling Diddy for over 2 years. Oberlees had captured everything from Diddy's 50th birthday to recording sessions for his 2023 album, the Love album, Off Grid, which meant this wasn't some random person with a camera but Diddy's guy, someone he trusted to his life. Oberlees wasn't there that day though. An out-of-state trip meant a freelance videographer filled in for him, and those 3 days of work would change everything. What got captured on September 10th was explosive. Diddy appeared on camera talking on the phone with his attorney Mark Agnifilo, and you can hear the panic in his voice when he says, "Things are happening, and it's like, I want to fight for my life. I want to fight for justice, for not guilty." Then he tells his lawyer something even more revealing. "I don't think it's working. We're losing." The cameras kept rolling as Diddy found out that Don Richard, his former Danity Kane member, had just filed a $30 million lawsuit against him, and you can see him processing it in real time. "Don Richard just dropped a lawsuit on me for $30 million. Later, sitting in his hotel room, he describes the allegations as so fictitious and crazy. The most damaging footage shows Diddy instructing his team to find somebody that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirtiest, dirty business of media and propaganda to target potential jurors on Instagram and TikTok. A social media campaign to influence his jury pool was being planned, and it was all caught on camera. 6 days later, on September 16th, federal agents arrested Diddy in the lobby of that same Park Hyatt Hotel. The charges were racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, and he pleaded not guilty the next day. December 2024 arrives and Netflix releases Sean Combs, The Reckoning, executive produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Diddy's longtime rival. All that footage from September 10th appears there, displayed for the entire world to see. And the documentary quickly shot to the top of Netflix's charts. Diddy's team fired back immediately with a cease and desist letter. Through his spokesperson Judah Engelmayer, they called it a shameful hit piece and accused Netflix of relying on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. Their claim centered on the idea that Diddy had been amassing footage since he was 19 to tell his own story in his own way, and that it was fundamentally unfair and illegal for Netflix to misappropriate that work. The statement left no room for interpretation. Mr. Combs has not hesitated to take legal action against media entities and others who violate his rights, and he will not hesitate to do so against Netflix. And here's where the story gets interesting, because despite all those threats, as of December 2024, Diddy hasn't filed a single lawsuit against Netflix. His former publicist Rob Shooter says there's a very simple reason why. He can single quotes Rob Shooter, who worked with Diddy back during the height of his fame, published a bombshell revelation on December 4, 2024 on his Substack called Naughty But Nice, and what he revealed explains everything. Diddy never paid the videographer, not a dollar, and he never had a signed contract. Shooter explained that he witnessed Diddy's business practices firsthand, and the sloppiness around paperwork shocked him. He always had photographers and video crews trailing him, everywhere, all the time, but because he was cheap. He refused to do formal contracts. He just expected loyalty. He expected silence. That approach worked for years because Diddy held so much power that no one dared release anything without his approval. Shooter put it this way: when you go to jail and suddenly someone is offering the cameraman money for footage, honey, that's not betrayal, that's a business opportunity. And it is absolutely Diddy's own fault. Think about what this means for a moment. A multi-billion-dollar mogul, someone who built an empire on his business acumen, couldn't be bothered to pay a freelancer or have him sign a contract, and that oversight may have cost him everything in terms of legal recourse. Shooter drove the point home. This is what happens when you run an empire without contracts, and then the empire collapses. Netflix maintains they did everything by the book. Director Alexandria Stapleton stated clearly, "It came to us, we obtained the footage legally, and have the necessary rights." She added that they moved heaven and earth to keep the filmmaker's identity confidential. Netflix's official statement echoed this position. The footage of Combs leading up to his indictment and arrest were legally obtained. They noted that while 50 Cent serves as an executive producer, he doesn't have creative control, and that no one received payment to participate. What Shooter pointed out makes perfect sense when you think about Netflix as a business. They don't air a single still photo without teams of lawyers clearing every frame and every copyright. If Netflix aired this footage, their legal team clearly believed they had the right to do so. Michael Oberlees, Diddy's primary videographer, released his own statement to Rolling Stone on December 10th, trying to distance himself from the leak. "For over 2 years, we have been working on a project profiling Sean Diddy Combs," he explained. "The footage in question was not released by me or anyone authorized to handle Sean Combs' materials. It was by a third party who covered for me for 3 days while I was out of state." Oberlees made a point to note that this incident had nothing to do with any fee, dispute, or contract issue, and he called the actions unethical and unacceptable, saying they reflected the lack of integrity every storyteller should uphold. What Oberlees doesn't say matters just as much as what he does. No mention of the freelancer being under contract appears anywhere in his statement. No mention of the freelancer being paid. Just that this person covered for him for 3 days. That distinction may be everything. Even 50 Cent seemed amazed by how close the footage got to Diddy's arrest. "I don't think you can get closer," he told ABC. He was documenting himself on his way to jail. You might be wondering whether Diddy could argue that some of this footage includes privileged attorney-client communications, because after all, he's on camera talking to his lawyer, and that should be protected. The problem runs deeper than you'd think. If Diddy chose to record those conversations himself, without his attorney's explicit knowledge or consent, he may have waived that privilege, which means by allowing cameras to roll during legal strategy sessions, he essentially made those communications no longer private. That's not something he can take back now that it's inconvenient for him. Alexandria Stapleton made an interesting point about Diddy's relationship with cameras. "One thing about Sean Combs is that he's always filming himself, and it's been an obsession throughout the decades." She suggested there existed a massive amount of footage circulating among various videographers, and without proper agreements, that archive wasn't as locked down as Diddy might have thought. The legal battle that followed all of this puts the documentary footage in an even more disturbing context. Diddy's trial began on May 12, 2025, and jury selection had started a week earlier, with 12 jurors and 6 alternates chosen to hear the case. Nearly 2 months of trial testimony proved harrowing. Women testified that Combs beat, threatened, sexually assaulted, and blackmailed them, and key witnesses included Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend who had dated him on and off from 2007 to 2018, and Dawn Richard, the same woman whose $30 million lawsuit Diddy had been reacting to in that September 10 footage. Cassie testified for 4 days during the first week of the trial. She had filed her own lawsuit against Diddy back in November 2023, reaching a private settlement just 1 day after filing. But now she sat on the witness stand testifying under oath. She later wrote in a letter to the judge that it was the most traumatic and horrifying chapter in my life. One piece of evidence loomed over everything: a 2016 hotel video from the Intercontinental Hotel that showed Combs physically assaulting Cassie. That video had been released publicly before the trial even began, which led to Diddy issuing a public apology on Instagram where he admitted what everyone could see with their own eyes. What made the prosecution's case even stronger was that, according to testimony, even after authorities executed search warrants on his properties in March 2024, even after that hotel video went public, Diddy allegedly assaulted another woman known as Jane in June 2024. The man couldn't stop himself, even knowing the walls were closing in. July 2025 brought the jury's verdict. They found Diddy guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but acquitted him on the more serious charges: sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and racketeering conspiracy. Those were the charges that could have put him away for life. Prosecutor Christy Slavic had spent 4 hours and 50 minutes delivering her closing arguments. "He doesn't take no for an answer," she told the jury. It was his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve him. He used power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted. October 3, 2025 brought the sentencing hearing in Manhattan Federal Court, and Judge R. Subramanian had a tough call to make. The prosecution wanted 11 years and 3 months, while the defense requested just 14 months, essentially time served. Since Diddy had already spent 12 months locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, Diddy stood to address the court, appearing tearful and emotional. "I've been humbled and broken to my core," he said. "Domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry. My actions were disgusting, shameful, and sick." His statement continued, "I was sick from the drugs. I was out of control. I needed help and I didn't get the help, and I cannot make no excuse. I'm just a human being. I was trying my best. I got lost in my excess and lost in my ego." The cost of his choices became clear in his words: "Because of my decision, I lost my freedom and the opportunity to raise my children and be there for my mother." As he left the courtroom, he told his family, "I love you. I'm sorry and I'll be okay." Judge Subramanian sentenced him to 50 months in prison, which works out to 4 years and 2 months. He also imposed a $500,000 fine, the maximum allowable for the charges, and 5 years of supervised release after prison. And with credit for the 12 months Diddy had already served, he could be released by May 2028, possibly earlier with good behavior and prison programs. The judge made clear why he imposed a substantial sentence. A substantial sentence must be given to send a message to abusers and victims alike that abuse against women is met with real accountability. He noted that Combs had irreparably harmed to women and pointed out that he assaulted Jane in June 2024, even after search warrants were executed and the Intercontinental Hotel video was released. "You brutally assaulted Jane," the judge said directly to Combs. But he also offered something unexpected at the end. "Mr. Combs, I know you feel you are in a dark place right now, but these crimes were serious ones. Mr. Combs, you and your family are going to get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel." Diddy landed at Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institution in New Jersey in October 2025, assigned to a special housing unit for inmates in drug treatment programs. That's where he sits today. His defense team immediately called the sentence grounds for appeal. Attorney Mark Agnafilo, the same lawyer who appeared in that September 10 footage, argued that the judge used the word coercion at least a dozen times, despite the jury finding no coercion. "We think that's unconstitutional," he said. "We think a jury's verdict should mean more." At least one juror told reporters that Diddy got off easy. The Netflix documentary includes an appearance from Kalina Harper, who completed the trio of Diddy Dirty Money alongside Don, Richard, and Diddy himself. Her position in all of this gets complicated fast. Don, Richard's $30 million lawsuit mentioned Kalina 33 times. When that lawsuit dropped on September 10th, Kalina found herself dealing with her own crisis, a child custody dispute. and she had asked Diddy for help with her case, but he declined. That meant when Diddy later called asking her for a statement supporting him, she told him it was fucked up because she had needed him when it mattered. 3 days after Richard's lawsuit landed, on September 13, 2024, Harper released a statement via Instagram story. "While I fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experiences," she wrote, "I want to emphasize that her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as a universal truth applicable to everyone involved." She went further. "It's important to understand that, while I was present in some of the same professional settings mentioned, many of the allegations and incidents described in this suit are not representative of my experiences, and some do not align with my own truth." In the Netflix documentary, Harper gets emotional explaining her position. "I don't want people to think I'm trying to wear a bulletproof vest for puff cause I'm not. It's just like, I'm not a bad person and I wasn't around that shit. I don't fucking know what they was doing. I don't know." What she's saying amounts to this: "I can't defend what I didn't see, but I also can't confirm what Dawn claims because that wasn't my experience." That's a careful line to walk, and you can see the weight of it on her. Dawn Richards' lawsuit paints a picture of an empire built on fear, control, and unpaid labor. She's seeking $30 million, but her claims about unpaid wages alone tell a staggering story, because she estimates she's owed approximately $3 million from various projects. The breakdown gets damning fast. From U.S. tour performances, over $350,000. From promoting Ciroc vodka, at least $1.5 million. From Danity Kane's first album, which sold over 4 million copies, she estimates $1 million owed. From their second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, which sold over 2 million copies, another $500,000. The 2020 Making the Band reboot that COVID-19 halted never brought her any compensation. The financial exploitation formed just one part of her allegations, though. Richard claims she witnessed Diddy physically abuse Cassie Ventura on numerous occasions throughout the years, and she says she saw him choke, strangle, slap, punch, and strike Ventura with objects. In one incident, she alleges she saw Diddy throw a scalding hot pan of eggs at Ventura before dragging her upstairs at his LA home when Richard tried to intervene. According to her lawsuit, Diddy threatened her, "You want to die today? I make niggas go missing. I end people." Richard also alleges that between 2009 and 2011, Diddy barged into changing rooms, groped her bare buttocks, and attempted to touch her breasts, and she claims she faced being forced to strip to underwear during rehearsals, while Diddy would conduct meetings wearing only his underwear. One incident from 2008 stood out. Diddy conducted a business meeting at his Miami home in just his underwear, and when asked to dress, he refused, saying, "This is my fucking house." She describes being locked in a car for over 20 minutes, which she characterized as false imprisonment. And in December 2010, before a Saturday Night Live performance, she claims Diddy drew back his fist as if to punch her, with only a bodyguard's intervention stopping him. The working conditions she describes sound like psychological torture. She alleges being deprived of basic needs like adequate food and sleep, and when she or others requested meals or rest, Diddy would allegedly respond with, "You bitch don't want this. Y'all are not hungry enough. I'm paying you bitch to work." Rehearsal days stretch long, sometimes starting in the middle of the night, and they were required to remain at various residences and studios in New York, LA, Florida, and New Jersey. Through it all, degrading comments about their bodies and physical appearances kept coming. Diddy's response, through his attorney Erica Wolf, called it all a calculated move. Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. In an attempt to rewrite history, Dawn Richard has now manufactured a series of false claims, all in the hopes of trying to get a payday, conveniently timed to coincide with her album release and press tour. The statement tried to use Richard's continued work with Diddy against her. If Ms. Richard had such a negative experience with making the band and Danity Kane, she would not have chosen to continue working directly with Mr. Combs for dirty money. nor would she have returned for the Making the Band reboot in 2020 or agreed to be featured on the Love album last year. Richards' lawsuit remains pending as of December 2024, but she did testify against Diddy during his trial, telling the jury about the abuse she witnessed. Don Richards' lawsuit isn't the only legal storm Diddy faces. On October 1, 2024, attorney Tony Busby announced he's representing 120 accusers with allegations against Diddy spanning more than 20 years, and the claims include violent sexual assault or rape, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, dissemination of video recordings, sexual abuse of minors. Busby made a chilling promise: "We will expose the enablers who enabled this conduct behind closed doors. We will pursue this matter no matter who the evidence implicates." Many powerful people, many dirty secrets. Cassie Ventura, who testified for 4 days during Diddy's trial, later wrote a letter to Judge Subramanian, revealing the lasting impact of her relationship with Diddy. "I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular, everyday basis, and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past," she wrote. What's perhaps most disturbing appears in her ongoing fear. "My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family is my reality. I have in fact moved my family out of the New York area and I am keeping as private and quiet as I possibly can because I am so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution towards me and others who spoke up." Even with Diddy behind bars until at least 2028, the woman at the center of that 2016 hotel video, the woman whose assault was caught on camera for the world to see, still fears him. Let's come back to where we started, that footage in the Netflix documentary, because now you understand the full context of why it matters so much, and why Diddy's inability to stop its release carries such weight. The documentary itself earned praise for its comprehensive approach. Even critics who came in skeptical of 50 Cent's involvement given his history with Diddy and his reputation for trolling admitted the final product impressed them, and CBC's Commotion described it as comprehensive, well-researched, unsentimental, clear. Critics noted the documentary provides clear insight into what they called patterns of abuse and dominance that stretched across decades. Director Alexandria Stapleton's work earned genuine respect from reviewers who arrived prepared to dismiss it as a hit piece. Even with 50 Cent serving as executive producer after years of publicly feuding with Diddy and even threatening to release additional uncut footage on YouTube. 50 Cent told ABC he holds no grudge against Diddy and characterized the project as an effort to elevate voices when others won't, saying many people involved trusted him to bring their stories forward, whether you believe that or see it as somewhat disingenuous given their history. The documentary itself has been judged on its merits. What makes the footage situation so perfectly ironic is that Diddy files lawsuits left and right when he doesn't like how he's portrayed. Earlier in 2024, he sued Universal for $100 million over their documentary Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and that case remains ongoing. With Netflix though, nothing. Despite the cease and desist letter on December 1st, despite calling it stolen footage, despite saying he will not hesitate to take legal action, as of December 2024, Diddy hasn't filed anything. The reason becomes clear if Rob Shooter's right. If that freelance videographer really wasn't paid and really didn't have a contract, then Diddy doesn't have a leg to stand on legally. Without a contract specifying ownership, without having paid the videographer for their work, the freelancer may have had every right to that footage, and if they sold it to Netflix, and Netflix's legal team cleared it, then it's game over. The empire that Diddy built on his business savvy, his ability to spot talent and turn it into gold, his understanding of how to build a brand, may have crumbled in part because he couldn't be bothered to pay someone a few $1,000s and have them sign a piece of paper. Think about what that September 10th footage revealed. Diddy talking about finding someone to run a propaganda campaign to influence potential jurors on social media. Diddy panicking about losing control of the narrative. Diddy reacting to Don Richards' lawsuit by calling the allegations fictitious and crazy, even though testimony at trial would later corroborate much of what she claimed, that footage let the world see behind the carefully constructed image to the man who couldn't hold onto everything he'd built, and he has no one to blame but himself for its existence in the Netflix documentary. When Diddy walks out of Fort Dix in May 2028, if he serves his full reduced sentence, he'll step into a very different world than the one he left. His empire lies in ruins, his reputation destroyed, and hundreds of millions in legal judgments may be waiting for him. Between Don Richards' $30 million lawsuit, the 120 accusers represented by Tony Busby, and whatever other claims emerge, 5 years of supervised release await him with strict conditions: required drug testing, substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, a domestic violence program, regular meetings with a probation officer, and a prohibition on drug use. The judge made sure structure and accountability would follow him. The deeper lesson in all of this goes beyond Diddy specifically, though. Rob Shooter put it plainly: this is what happens when you run an empire without contracts, and then the empire collapses. For decades, Diddy operated on power dynamics instead of legal protections, expecting loyalty without earning it through fair dealing and demanding silence without securing it through proper agreements. As long as he stayed on top, as long as everyone feared him more than they needed the money he owed them, it worked. Power proves temporary, though. Fear fades when the person you're afraid of gets arrested, and loyalty without compensation is just exploitation waiting to blow up in your face. That unnamed freelance videographer who covered for Michael Oberle's for 3 days owed Diddy nothing. Diddy hadn't paid them. Diddy hadn't secured their agreement to keep the footage confidential. Diddy hadn't done the most basic things you do when you're documenting your own life and you want to maintain control over that documentation. When Netflix came calling, or when 50 Cent's team reached out, footage made its way to the documentary. That videographer had every right to make a business decision, and they did. Alexandria Stapleton said they moved heaven and earth to keep the filmmaker's identity confidential, which tells you Netflix knows this person could face harassment, or worse if their name got out. That also tells you Netflix feels confident enough in the legality of how they obtained the footage that they went ahead with it despite Diddy's threats. Right now, sitting in Fort Dix, Diddy watches as that footage gets viewed by millions of people around the world. He sits with the knowledge that his own obsession with documenting himself, combined with his refusal to properly compensate and contract the people doing that documentation, created the evidence that destroyed what remained of his public image. The criminal conviction put him in prison, but that Netflix documentary, featuring footage he can't stop from being shown, may have damaged his legacy even more. What it showed everyone was exactly who he was in those final days of freedom: desperate, calculating, willing to try to manipulate potential jurors through social media propaganda, and completely convinced he could still control the narrative. He couldn't. The case ended before it even began, not because of what he did in that hotel room on September 10th, 2024, but because of what he failed to do for years before that: pay people what he owed them and put his business arrangements in writing. That's how Diddy's cameraman exposed him, and why, despite all his money, all his lawyers, and all his threats, there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it.